Welcome back, everyone. This is an original story from Hidden Revenge family, and it took a turn you truly didn't see coming. Let's get into it.
Serena Vance stood across the street from the house she grew up in, holding a duffel bag that still smelled like desert dust and aircraft fuel. Chicago's winter air bit through her jacket. She didn't mind. After 5 years managing logistics for U.S. Army bases overseas, cold air felt honest. It didn't pretend to love you. She hadn't told anyone she was coming home. Not her parents, not her sister. She wanted one quiet moment. Just walk in, surprise hugs, maybe a tear or two, normal family stuff. The kind of thing soldiers imagine during long nights in places where the power grid works only when it feels like it. The house wasn't quiet. Music pulsed from inside, laughter, champagne glasses clinking. A valet parked a Bentley in the driveway. Serena blinked. Her parents didn't own a Bentley. They owned a Toyota with a dented bumper and emotional damage. She crossed the lawn, confused but curious. Through the living room window, she saw a chandelier she didn't remember. The furniture looked new, expensive. There were at least 30 guests inside dressed in evening wear. Someone had turned her childhood home into a luxury showroom. Then she saw the banner. Honoring Captain Serena Vance, our family hero. Serena froze. Captain. Her rank, her name, her title, printed in gold letters, hanging above her parents' fireplace. A woman stepped into view beneath the banner wearing a formal military dress uniform. Serena's uniform, the same cut, the same medals, the same ribbon stack that had taken 5 years, 2 overseas deployments, and 1 near-miss convoy attack to earn. Except the woman wearing it was not Serena. It was Melody, her younger sister, the one who used to borrow Serena's clothes and return them with mystery stains and excuses. The one who cried when math got hard and quit when anything required effort. The one who once said at age 14, "I just want a life where I don't have to do anything." Now she stood in Serena's uniform, smiling at a crowd of wealthy guests like she owned the world. And that Melody said into a microphone is why we are so proud of Captain Serena Vance, who served our country with courage and distinction. Applause erupted. Serena didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Her name, her service, her sacrifice. Spoken by the sister who used to fake stomach aches to skip gym class. A man in a tuxedo kissed Melody's hand. Another guest took photos. Someone called her a true American hero. Melody laughed and lifted a champagne glass, careful not to spill on medals she had never earned. Serena's first thought wasn't anger. It was logistics. Who signed the paperwork? Who filed the records? Who changed the databases? Because identity theft at this level wasn't just lying. It was federal crime territory. Deep, serious, organized. She should have felt something dramatic. Betrayal, heartbreak, rage. Instead, her military brain clicked into assessment mode. Threat identified. Situation active. Objective unclear. She stepped closer to the window. Guests circulated. Her mother, Martha, moved proudly through the crowd, showing photos on her phone. Her father, Daniel, shook hands like a politician running for office. No one looked guilty, no one looked confused. They looked rehearsed. Serena's stomach tightened. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned, maintained, supported. She tried the front door, locked. Of course it was. A security keypad sat where the old doorknob used to be. She didn't know the code, because apparently the family home had been upgraded while she was busy dodging roadside bombs. She walked around to the side of the house. The kitchen window was slightly open. Old habit took over. She lifted the frame, slid in, and landed silently on the tile floor. The kitchen smelled like catered food and money. She moved down the hallway. Her boots made no sound. Years of moving through base corridors at 3 a.m. had taught her how to exist quietly. The door to her old bedroom was closed. She opened it. It wasn't her room anymore. The walls were painted white and gold. A designer vanity sat where her desk used to be. Her childhood posters were gone. In their place, framed fashion magazine covers. Melody on one of them. A headline read, "Chicago's Rising Socialite." Serena stepped inside and closed the door. A stack of mail sat on the vanity. She picked up the top envelope. Serena Vance approved credit limit $75,000. Another letter. Serena Vance mortgage payment reminder. Another. Serena Vance luxury vehicle loan statement. Serena flipped through more. Hermes boutique receipt. First class airline invoice. Private clinic invoice. Hotel Paris booking confirmation. All under her name. She didn't whisper. She didn't gasp. She just exhaled slowly through her nose. Identity theft, financial fraud, stolen military identity, false representation, stolen benefits. This was not a sister borrowing lipstick. This was a criminal operation with a family support team. From the living room, Melody's laughter rose again, high and confident. Serena held one of the bank letters and folded it once, precisely, cleanly, like preparing evidence. Then she heard footsteps, her mother's voice, close, coming down the hallway. Serena didn't hide. She stood in the center of the room, holding the letter in her hand, calm as a quiet storm. The doorknob turned. The door opened. Martha Vance stepped in, still holding a tray of champagne flutes, and stopped mid-step. Her eyes widened. The tray trembled. A glass slipped and shattered on the floor. "Serena," her mother whispered like she was seeing a ghost. Serena raised the letter slightly. "Nice party," she said. And before Martha could speak, before footsteps rushed closer from the hallway, before the noise of celebration spilled toward the doorway, Serena felt something new settle in her chest. Not anger, not sadness, not shock. Just certainty, clear, focused, locked, like the start of a mission. And somewhere in the middle of the glittering house behind the fake medals and fake stories, the real Serena Vance stood alive, breathing, and finally home. Right now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever walked into a place you thought was yours and realized someone else had been living your life better than you ever imagined? Serena didn't move, as her mother stared at her like a crime scene that just learned how to speak. Martha set the tray down with shaking hands, as if noise control could fix whatever was happening. Footsteps rushed toward the room. Her father appeared in the doorway, still wearing his proud host smile, which collapsed the second he saw Serena standing there, alive, real, undeniable. Daniel blinked hard. You're back early," Serena held up the bank letter. "Apparently I never left." Neither parent spoke. They just stared at the paper in her hand, as if it were a loaded weapon. In a way it was. From the living room, applause erupted again. Melody's voice floated through the hall. "Thank you all for celebrating this special night with us." Serena tilted her head. Special night, Daniel swallowed. Melody's engagement party. Serena glanced around the remodeled bedroom. Engaged to who? Daniel rubbed his forehead. Julian Croft. Serena knew the name. Everyone in Chicago knew the name. Real estate empire, private jets, the kind of wealth that didn't ask for receipts. Serena looked at her parents. "So let me understand this. I'm overseas serving in the army, and you decide to throw my identity a retirement party." Martha stepped forward slowly, palms out. "Sweetheart, please. Let's talk quietly." Serena's tone stayed level. "We are talking quietly." Martha's voice cracked. "You don't understand how hard things were." Serena raised an eyebrow. "You live in a house with a chandelier that could blind aircraft pilots." Daniel shut the door behind him. "Your sister needed help." Serena didn't flinch. "So you stole my life." "No," Martha said quickly. "We borrowed your name." Serena stared. "That sentence should not exist in any language." Daniel gestured toward the letters. "Melody only used your credit because you had perfect records. No debt, no risk. It was practical." "Practical," Serena repeated. "Like fraud, very efficient." Martha's eyes filled. "Serena, your sister, she struggles. She never had your drive, your discipline, your ability to handle pressure." Serena crossed her arms. "So the solution was to commit federal crimes." Daniel's voice dropped. "We did what parents do. We helped our child." Serena looked between them. "You have 2 children." Silence sat heavy in the room. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just ugly and real. Serena turned back to the mail and sorted through it. Her fingers moved fast, organized, clinical. Personal loan $120,000. Auto loan $90,000. Credit card $75,000, $50,000, $35,000. Paris hotel charges. Jewelry store receipts. Designer clothing invoices. She looked up. Total estimate over $500,000. Martha whispered, "It's an investment." Serena blinked once. "In what bankruptcy?" Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Listen, Julian Croft is wealthy. Once Melody marries him, all this disappears." It was a temporary bridge. Serena tilted her head. "You built a bridge out of my identity." Martha reached into her pocket and pulled out a small plastic card. Serena's military ID, her real one. Martha held it out like it was dangerous. We kept this safe. You don't need it anymore. Please. Let Melody have this night. Just go, don't ruin everything. Serena stared at the card, her name, her photo, the document that let her access Base's medical care benefits, her entire official existence. Martha tried to place it in Serena's hand. Serena didn't take it. Instead, she gently pushed Martha's hand back. I didn't fly across the world, dodge rockets, and keep convoys running so my own mother could tell me to disappear. Martha's voice sharpened. You're strong, you'll rebuild. Melody can't. This is her chance. Serena exhaled slowly. You didn't give her a chance. You gave her my life. Daniel stepped between them. Serena, if you walk into that party, you will destroy this family. Serena looked at him. You already did. From the hallway, laughter approached. High heels clicking. Melody's voice. Coming closer, Martha panicked. Go out the back, please. Just for tonight. Serena didn't move. She didn't need to. Melody burst into the room, still glowing under borrowed glory. Her smile froze when she saw Serena. For a moment, the sisters stared at each other, one wearing a real past, the other wearing a stolen one. Melody recovered first. She stepped forward, eyes narrowing with quick calculation. Well, Melody said, folding her arms. Looks like the ghost came home. Serena looked her up and down. You're wearing my rank. Melody smirked. I wear it better. Daniel cleared his throat nervously. Melody, sweetheart, maybe we... Melody raised a finger to silence him, never taking her eyes off Serena. You were supposed to be gone longer. Melody said. Your return is inconvenient. Serena studied her sister's face. Not guilt, not fear, just annoyance, like a business plan interrupted. Serena nodded once. I see. Melody leaned in closer, lowering her voice so only Serena could hear. Let's talk somewhere private, Melody said. Before you embarrass yourself. Serena's lips curled into a small, controlled smile. Oh, she said. I wouldn't dream of embarrassing myself. And with that, Serena turned toward the door, calm and steady, walking beside the sister who had been living inside her name. Serena followed Melody down the hallway, past framed photos of family vacations Serena had never attended, past a glass cabinet displaying fake medals that now felt like props in a cheap museum. Melody led her into the home office and closed the door with deliberate care, like sealing a deal. The room smelled like leather chairs and expensive cologne. A large desk sat in front of a wall-mounted TV showing the live feed of the engagement party in the next room. Melody poured herself a drink with the calm of someone who believed she had already won. Serena stayed standing. Melody sat crossing her legs. Let's skip the emotional reunion, she said. We both know you're not here for hugs. Serena's eyes moved once around the room. Filing cabinets, a shredder, a laptop, a locked drawer. Everything screamed, planning not panic. You've been busy, Serena said. Melody smiled. I've been efficient. Serena nodded slowly. You stole my name, my credit, my military status, my benefits, my property. Melody swirled her drink. When you list it like that, it sounds criminal. It is criminal. Melody laughed lightly. Please, do you know how many people commit identity fraud every day? I just chose a high-quality identity. Serena's voice stayed flat. You chose mine. Melody leaned forward. Because you were perfect. No debt, no scandals, no social life. No one questioned anything. You were overseas. You were invisible. It was a gift. Serena's jaw tightened once, then relaxed. Melody tilted her head. You should thank me. I took your boring soldier existence and turned it into something glamorous. Serena raised an eyebrow. By committing federal offenses. Melody's smile thinned. Do you think anyone cares about the difference? People love a hero. I gave them one. Serena stared at her sister. She saw no remorse, no hesitation, just a businesswoman defending a strategy. Melody opened a drawer and pulled out a manila folder. She slid it across the desk. Serena didn't touch it. Melody tapped the folder. Go ahead. Serena opened it. Medical documents, psychiatric evaluations, therapy notes, medication prescriptions, all under Serena Vance's name. Serena looked up slowly. What is this? Melody leaned back. Your medical history. Serena flipped pages. Diagnoses. PTSD, anxiety disorder, dissociative episodes. risk of delusion, recommendation for supervised care. None of it was real. Melody sipped her drink. I built a safety net. Serena's voice dropped half a tone. You created fake federal medical records. Melody shrugged. If you walk into a police station claiming I stole your identity, I show them this. They see a traumatized veteran with psychological instability, making extreme accusations. Guess who they believe? Serena closed the folder carefully. Melody continued. And if you get too loud, I request an emergency psychiatric hold. You disappear into a hospital for evaluation. Very humane, very legal, very quiet. Serena stared at her sister, seeing a stranger wearing familiar skin. So that's the plan, Serena said. Erase me if I resist. Melody's eyes sharpened. I prefer the word contain. Serena exhaled through her nose. You're impressive. Melody smirked. I know. Serena placed the folder back on the desk. You realize this level of fraud carries serious prison time. Melody lifted one shoulder. Only if someone believes you, and only if you survive the process. Serena took one slow step closer to the desk. Not threatening, not rushed, just deliberate. Melody watched carefully, measuring, calculating. Serena spoke softly. You're confident. Melody leaned forward too, matching Serena's tone. Because I planned everything. The loans, the credit, the engagement, the image, the records. I didn't steal your life by accident. I built a system. Serena nodded once. Systems can be audited. Melody smiled. Not if the auditor is labeled unstable. Serena didn't answer. Melody reached into her desk again and pulled out a checkbook. She wrote quickly, tore off a check, and flicked it across the desk toward Serena. The check hit Serena's boots. $10,000, payable to Serena Vance. Memo line, identity settlement. Melody pointed at it. That's your buyout. Serena looked down at the check, then back at Melody. Melody spoke like she was closing a contract. You walk away. You keep quiet. You disappear. You start fresh somewhere else. I keep the name, the lifestyle, the marriage. Everyone wins. Serena's voice was steady. And if I say no, Melody's smile vanished. Then I push the hospital button, or the police button, or the social media button. Do you know how fast the public turns on a mentally unstable veteran? I do. Serena bent down, picked up the check, and held it between two fingers. Melody watched closely, expecting hesitation. Instead, Serena smiled. Small, cold, precise. You're right, Serena said. Everyone loves a system. Melody narrowed her eyes. What does that mean? Serena folded the check once and slipped it into her pocket. It means, Serena said, I just accepted your terms. Melody relaxed slightly. Smart choice. Serena turned toward the door. Melody called after her. One more thing, Serena. Don't try to surprise me. I've thought of everything. Serena paused at the door and glanced back. No, she said. You thought of everything you could imagine. Then she walked out of the office, past the sound of music and laughter, past the glittering crowd, celebrating a hero that never existed. Outside, the cold night air hit her face again. Honest, sharp, real. Serena didn't hurry, didn't panic, didn't look back. Her mind was already moving. Risk pathways, financial trails, audit logs, legal jurisdictions, digital footprints. The kind of work she had done for years to keep entire bases running. Now the system had a new mission. And Serena Vance had work to do. Serena didn't rush. She never rushed after accepting a mission. She walked 3 blocks, hailed a cab, and gave an address she knew by heart, but had never visited a small apartment she kept under a backup lease for military transitions. No family, no forwarding mail, no questions. The driver tried small talk. Serena didn't answer. She watched Chicago slide past the window, bright, loud, indifferent. When she entered the apartment, she locked the door, set her duffel bag down, and pulled out her laptop. No dramatic sigh, no shaking hands, just steady work. She powered it on. A simple login screen, a military-grade encrypted drive. She entered a long passphrase from memory. The system opened quietly like a vault that recognized its owner. Serena opened a secure communication app. A list of names appeared. Former officers, analysts, people who owed her favors because she kept their supply lines running when everything else failed. She clicked one. Marcus Reed. He answered in under 10 seconds. Shirtless, holding a beer, sitting in what looked like a cheap apartment with a very expensive monitor setup. Well, damn, Marcus said. Either I'm drunk or Serena Vance just came back from the dead. Serena nodded. I need a favor. Marcus squinted. That bad. Yes. His expression changed instantly. Talk. Serena kept it brief. My identity has been stolen. Military status. Financial accounts. Federal records. I need access to audit trails. Quietly, Marcus whistled. That's ugly. I didn't ask for commentary. Marcus leaned forward. Give me your secure token. Serena held up a small metal key fob. She read the rotating code. Marcus typed fast. Screens reflected in his glasses. You still have clearance, he muttered. They never marked you inactive. That's interesting. Serena said nothing. Marcus opened a new window. I'm routing you into the financial oversight system that tracks service member benefit activity. Read-only access. No flags. No alerts. A new interface appeared on Serena's screen. She nodded. Thank you. Marcus lifted his beer. Welcome home, Captain. The call ended. Serena's fingers moved like she was back in a command center. She searched her name. Serena Vance. Dozens of linked systems opened. Pay records, benefits, medical, housing, identity verification logs. Then she searched recent activity. There it was. Digital fingerprints, logins from Chicago, biometric bypass requests, medical records created, loan verification calls, benefit transfers, identity authentication used to secure mortgages. Not just theft. A coordinated pattern. Serena began downloading records, timestamps, IP addresses, authorization codes, linked devices. She opened another program, public property records. She typed in the address of the family house. Owner Serena Vance, mortgage status delinquent. Heavily leveraged. She frowned. Melody hadn't just borrowed credit, she had mortgaged the house. Serena opened the transaction history. A signature authorization file appeared, signed by Serena Vance. Serena zoomed in on the digital signature. A forgery, good quality, but wrong pressure pattern, wrong slant angle, wrong cadence. She saved it. Next search. Grandfather's apartment. The one left specifically to Serena in his will. Property transfer record. Owner Melody Vance. Sale completed. Funds transferred overseas. Serena leaned back slightly, not shocked, just updating the scope. This wasn't lifestyle borrowing. This was asset stripping. She opened veteran trust fund oversight logs. A small fund Serena helped manage for injured service members who struggled with housing. She searched recent approvals. One new authorized administrator added. Name Serena Vance. But the login source was the same Chicago IP cluster. She opened the administrator activity. Large withdrawals, redirected into private accounts, labeled as emergency veteran assistance. Serena's jaw tightened once. Melody hadn't just stolen from Serena, she had stolen from wounded veterans. Serena closed her eyes for 2 seconds, not to calm down, to lock focus. Then she kept going. She built a clean folder. Subfolders. Financial fraud, identity theft. Property forgery. Federal benefit abuse. Trust fund embezzlement. Fake medical records. Each file labeled. Each timestamp verified. Each source logged. She worked for hours without pause. No background music, no monologue. Just quiet, controlled precision. Near dawn, her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. FYI, that IP cluster traces to your parents' home network. Same device used for all activity. Lawyer involved too. Want his name? Serena typed back. Yes. 3 seconds later, another text. Elliot Crane. Bar license active. Known for aggressive asset shielding. Sleazy but smart. Serena added a new subfolder. Legal co-conspirator. She stretched her neck once, rolled her shoulders, and stood up. The apartment window showed the early gray of morning. Snow falling lightly, Chicago waking up. Serena poured a glass of tap water and drank it slowly. Then she looked at the digital wall of evidence she had built overnight. Every transaction traceable, every signature disproven, every fake record exposed. Melody had built a system. Serena had just mapped it. She put on her jacket, slid the metal security token into her pocket, and stepped outside. Cold air hit her lungs, clean, sharp. She didn't look tired. She looked operational. And as she walked down the quiet street, Serena Vance moved forward with the calm certainty of someone who didn't need revenge, only resolution. Serena stepped into the Sterling Hotel, through the employee entrance, wearing a black catering uniform and a borrowed name tag that read Sarah. No disguise drama, just a ponytail, neutral face, and the posture of someone who knew how to belong anywhere without being noticed. The ballroom buzzed with wealth, crystal lights, ice sculptures, a string quartet playing songs nobody listened to. Waiters moved like chess pieces. Serena took a tray of champagne flutes and blended in. No one looked twice. She scanned the room, her parents near the center smiling too hard. Daniel shaking hands, Martha laughing too quickly, both dressed like people who had never checked a price tag in their lives. Then Melody. She stood on a small stage in a white designer gown that cost more than Serena's first car. Her hair was perfect. Her posture practiced. Julian Croft stood beside her, tall, expensive, and slightly bored like a man who bought companies before breakfast. Melody took the microphone. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she said. "Julian and I are so grateful. And before we celebrate, I want to honor someone very special. The reason my family stands here today." She turned smiling toward Serena's parents. "My sister, Captain Serena Vance, a true American hero." Applause filled the room again. Serena stood still holding her tray. No reaction on her face. Just eyes locked on Melody. Melody continued, voice warm and rehearsed. "When I was younger, I watched my sister leave home to serve our country. She faced danger in the Middle East, managing supply convoys under threat. She kept soldiers safe. She made sacrifices most of us will never understand." Every word was true. None of it belonged to Melody. Guests nodded with admiration. Phones lifted to record. Julian squeezed Melody's hand, impressed. Serena shifted one step closer. Melody's voice softened. "Some heroes don't ask for recognition, but tonight I accept this honor in her name." She placed a hand over her heart. The crowd clapped again, louder. Serena's jaw flexed once. Not in rage, in calculation. She moved through the crowd, tray balanced, eyes forward. A server passing behind Melody's path. Normal, invisible, unimportant. Melody stepped off the stage, glowing under attention, walking directly toward Serena's line. Serena adjusted her path half a step. Their shoulders collided. The tray tilted. Red wine poured across Melody's white dress. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Silence followed. Melody froze, staring at the spreading stain. Then she looked up, at Serena. Recognition hit her face like cold water. Serena didn't apologize. She didn't explain. She just stood there holding the empty tray. Melody's eyes narrowed. "You?" Melody hissed. Serena kept her voice calm. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'll get towels." Melody grabbed Serena's wrist. Hard, nails digging in. Guests turned to watch. Phones lifted again. A different kind of spectacle. "You think you can walk in here?" Melody whispered. Dressed like a servant, Serena looked down at Melody's hand on her wrist, then back at Melody's face. "I am a servant," Serena said. "I serve." Melody's breath sharpened. She raised her hand and slapped Serena across the face. The sound cut through the ballroom. A few guests flinched. Someone whispered. Julian frowned, confused. Serena turned her head slightly with the impact, then returned it to center. No anger, no tears, no drama. Melody's voice rose so the room could hear. "Clumsy little pig," Melody said. "Do you know what this dress cost? Get out of my sight before you ruin anything else." Serena met her eyes. "Understood," Serena said. Julian stepped closer. "Melody, is everything okay?" Melody forced a laugh. "Just staff being careless." Julian looked at Serena's face, then at the red mark forming on her cheek. Something in his eyes flickered, but Melody pulled him away with a hand on his arm. "Come," Melody said, "let's not waste our night." They walked toward the dance floor where music resumed like nothing had happened. Serena stood still for 3 seconds. Then she handed the tray to another server. "Cover for me," Serena said quietly. The server, a middle-aged woman, glanced at Serena's cheek. "You want me to get security?" Serena shook her head. No, she walked toward the exit at a normal pace. No storming, no confrontation, no dramatic retreat. Outside in the hallway, she stopped, took out her phone and opened a banking app. She typed a sequence of codes, authorization tokens, audit credentials, fraud flags. Inside the ballroom, Melody and Julian began their first dance. Guests clapped again, cameras flashed. At the same moment, every account tied to Serena's name triggered an automated fraud alert. Banks, credit cards, loan services, mortgage systems, federal benefit transfers. One by one, systems froze access. Inside the ballroom, Melody's phone buzzed. She ignored it. It buzzed again. She frowned, stepping slightly away from Julian. A text message appeared. Transaction declined, account under review for suspected identity fraud. Another text. Credit card locked for security reasons. Another. Mortgage account flagged for irregular activity. Melody's smile stiffened. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered sharply. Not now. A voice spoke on the other end. Calm, professional. This is Sterling Hotel billing. Ma'am, your payment authorization for tonight's event has failed. We require immediate alternative payment. Melody's eyes widened slightly. She looked up. Across the lobby through glass doors, Serena stood outside in the cold, watching through the window. Not smiling, not waving, just watching. Melody's breath caught. Julian stepped closer. What's wrong? Melody forced a laugh. Nothing, just technical issues. At that exact moment, 2 uniformed police officers walked into the hotel lobby. Purposeful, direct, not lost, not casual. Their eyes scanned the crowd. Serena turned and walked away from the window, disappearing into the night. Inside, Melody's phone buzzed again. Chicago PD Fraud Division en route. Please remain available. Melody's fingers trembled for the first time that night. And the music kept playing. Melody stepped off the dance floor heels, clicking faster than necessary. She moved toward a quiet corner, phone pressed to her ear, voice low and sharp. What do you mean the account is locked? The voice on the line remained polite, scripted, unmoved by panic. Ma'am, we detected irregular authentication activity on this account. For your protection, all access has been temporarily suspended. Melody's jaw tightened. I am Serena Vance. Understood, Ms. Vance. For security verification, please answer. Melody ended the call and shoved the phone into her clutch. Her breath was controlled, but her eyes flicked across the room, searching. Her parents noticed first. Martha hurried over. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Melody forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Nothing, just banking nonsense. Daniel leaned closer. Is the house account affected? Melody hesitated half a second too long. Daniel's face paled. At the same time, the hotel's event manager, a tall man in a charcoal suit, approached with professional politeness and faint alarm. Ms. Vance, he said, may we speak for a moment? Melody nodded stiffly and followed him 3 steps away. The manager held a tablet. Our system shows the payment authorization for tonight's event has been declined. We attempted your backup card as well. Both failed under fraud review status. Melody blinked slowly. Run them again. We did. Multiple times. Julian walked up, sensing disruption like a man trained to smell financial smoke. Problem, he asked. Melody turned quickly. No, just hotel system issues. The manager cleared his throat. Unfortunately, we require valid payment before the event can continue. Julian raised an eyebrow. Is this a joke? Melody touched his arm lightly. Let me handle it. Her phone buzzed again, then again, then again. She opened the messages. Credit card frozen. Loan account restricted. Mortgage under fraud investigation. Federal benefits flagged for identity inconsistency. Each message clean, neutral, deadly. Melody swallowed once. She dialed another number, a saved contact labeled E. Crane. It rang 3 times, voicemail. She tried again, straight to voicemail. Her grip tightened on the phone. Martha leaned in, whispering, What did you do? Melody whispered back. Nothing I can't fix. Daniel's voice shook. Are the police coming? Melody shot him a glare. Don't be ridiculous. As if summoned by the sentence, 2 uniformed Chicago police officers stepped into the ballroom entrance. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't rush. They simply entered and scanned the room with practiced efficiency. The event manager noticed first and stiffened. Guests turned. Phones lifted. Whispers started. The officers walked straight toward Melody. Not the parents, not the manager, not Julian. Melody's face shifted from confidence to calculation. One officer spoke. Ma'am, are you Serena Vance? Melody lifted her chin. Yes. The word came out sharp, defiant, almost offended. The second officer glanced at a tablet. We need to ask you some questions regarding suspected identity fraud and financial misrepresentation. Julian stepped forward. Excuse me, this is my fiancé. There must be a mistake. Melody slid a hand through his arm, keeping him close like a shield. I am Captain Serena Vance, Melody said loudly. United States Army, do you understand who you're speaking to? Some guests gasped. Others leaned closer, hungry for scandal disguised as concern. The officer remained unimpressed. Yes, ma'am, he said. That's part of the issue. Melody's voice grew sharper. I served my country. I earned those medals. I demand respect. The officer glanced at her uniform, then at his tablet. According to federal biometric records, he said the individual registered as Captain Serena Vance is currently not you. The room shifted. Phones lifted higher. Julian slowly eased his arm out of Melody's grip. Martha grabbed Daniel's sleeve, whispering frantic prayers to no specific god. Melody laughed. A short, brittle sound. That's impossible, she said. I am Serena Vance. The officer gestured toward the exit. Ma'am, we need you to come with us for verification. Melody's eyes darted to the crowd, to the cameras, to Julian, to her parents. She lifted her voice, commanding the room. I am Serena Vance, she repeated. I am a decorated military officer. This is harassment. Julian looked at her carefully now. Not with love, with doubt. The kind that doesn't go away. The manager whispered to a colleague. A guest whispered to another. A social media live stream began somewhere in the back. The officers stepped closer. Ma'am, the first officer said, please cooperate. Melody's control finally cracked. She turned to her parents. Say something. Daniel's mouth opened. No sound came out. Martha clutched her purse like a life vest. Julian stepped back one full step. Just enough. Melody noticed. Her breath hitched. The officers took her by the arm. Firm, professional, not violent, final. Melody resisted once. Just once. Then she stopped. She straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin, and allowed herself to be escorted through the ballroom. Guests parted like water around a sinking ship. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded. Whispers raced faster than the string quartet could play. Melody's voice rang out one last time as she passed the doors. I am Serena Vance. You're making a mistake. The doors closed behind her. Music stumbled for a moment, then resumed under nervous laughter and forced smiles. Julian stood alone near the center of the ballroom, looking at the empty space where his fiancée had stood moments before. Daniel loosened his tie with shaking fingers. Martha's eyes watered, but no tears fell. And the celebration continued because wealthy rooms never stop for truth. Daniel Vance didn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table, still wearing his tuxedo shirt. Tie loosened, collar open. Martha paced between the counter and the window, checking the street every few minutes, as if Melody might suddenly reappear, escorted by forgiveness instead of police. Near 3 a.m., the phone rang. Daniel grabbed it on the first ring. Mr. Vance, a male voice said, calm and official. This is Detective Alvarez with Chicago PD. Your daughter, Melody Vance, is currently in custody for questioning regarding identity theft, financial fraud, and falsification of federal records. Daniel swallowed. She's a good girl. This is a misunderstanding. The detective paused. Sir, this is not minor fraud. This involves federal military identity misuse. We recommend you contact legal counsel. Daniel hung up without answering. Martha whispered, we'll call Elliot. Daniel nodded and dialed the lawyer's number. Disconnected. He tried again. Still disconnected. Martha's voice shook. He wouldn't just disappear. Daniel opened his laptop and searched the law firm's website. Elliot Crane's name was gone. His profile removed. His email deactivated. His phone redirected to a generic office line. Daniel stared at the screen, feeling the floor tilt under his feet. By morning, they drove to the police station. Neither spoke in the car. The radio played quietly cheerful music that didn't belong in their reality. At the front desk, Daniel gave their names. A clerk typed, frowned, then typed again. You're here for Melody Vance, the clerk asked. Daniel nodded. The clerk hesitated. I'm sorry, visiting hours for detainees require appointment through legal counsel. We are her parents, Martha said. The clerk's eyes softened. Ma'am, I understand, but this case is federal level. We cannot allow family visitation without authorization. Daniel's voice cracked. At least tell us if she's okay. She's alive, the clerk said gently. That's all I can say. They stepped outside into the cold morning air, suddenly smaller than they had ever felt. Martha hugged herself. We have to fix this. Daniel nodded once. We'll use the house, sell it, pay lawyers, whatever it takes. Martha looked relieved. Yes, the house. We'll save her. They drove home in silence. When they reached the driveway, Daniel pressed the garage remote. Nothing happened. He pressed it again. Still nothing. Martha tried the front door keypad. Access denied. Daniel pulled out his phone and opened the home security app. A red banner covered the screen. Account suspended due to ownership verification failure. Martha's voice rose. What does that mean? Daniel swallowed. It means, we don't own this house anymore. Martha stared at him. That's impossible. Daniel opened the county property record website with shaking hands. Owner Serena Vance. Mortgage status foreclosed. Property under bank repossession. Martha's knees weakened. Daniel leaned against the car, breathing shallow. We're being punished, Martha whispered. No, a voice said from behind them. You're meeting consequences. They turned. Serena stood on the sidewalk, hands in her coat pockets, calm, as if she had simply arrived for a scheduled appointment. Martha burst into tears. Serena. Please, Daniel stepped forward, voice cracking. You have to help us. Melody is in jail. They're going to destroy her. Serena looked at her parents. Not with hatred, not with triumph, just clarity. She destroyed herself, Serena said. I only removed the mask. Martha grabbed Serena's hands. We made a mistake, but she's your sister. Serena gently pulled her hands back. She stole from wounded veterans, Serena said. From families who lost limbs and homes. She stole federal records. She created fake medical files to erase me. That's not a mistake. That's a strategy. Daniel dropped to his knees on the driveway. Neighbors peeked through curtains. A dog barked. A car passed. Normal life continuing around a collapsing family. Please, Daniel said. Save our name, save the family. Serena reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. She handed it to Daniel. He opened it. A list. Every tuition payment. Every car repair. Every emergency bill. Every loan Serena had quietly covered for her parents over 10 years. At the bottom, a total. Daniel's hands shook as he read. Martha gasped. Serena's voice remained steady. You told me I'd always have to take care of myself because I was strong. I did, and I took care of you too. Now you're asking me to save the people who erased me. Daniel whispered, We're your family. Serena nodded once. And you chose which daughter mattered. Martha sobbed openly now. We were wrong. We were so wrong. Serena watched them for a long moment. Not cold, not cruel, just resolved. Then she said, I've already filed full evidence with federal investigators. Daniel's face crumpled. Martha's sobbing stopped in shock. There is no deal, Serena continued. No quiet settlement. No forgiveness arrangement. The system is in motion. Daniel lowered his head. Serena turned toward the street. Behind her, Martha called out, Serena. Where will we go? Serena paused just long enough to answer. That, she said, is something strong people figure out. She walked away down the sidewalk, boots steady on concrete, breath visible in cold air. Daniel and Martha stood in front of a house that was no longer theirs, in a life that was no longer protected, realizing too late that the daughter they dismissed had become the only adult in the family. And Serena didn't look back. Serena walked into the federal courthouse wearing a simple gray suit. No medals, no uniform, no need for symbols. Her posture did the talking. Reporters crowded the steps outside, shouting questions she didn't answer. Cameras flashed. Microphones pushed forward. Serena kept walking, eyes forward, hands steady. Inside the courtroom buzzed like a hive that smelled scandal. Melody sat at the defense table in an expensive beige suit that tried to look innocent. Her hair was pulled back, her makeup soft, her expression carefully fragile. The kind of fragile designed by lawyers. Next to her sat a public defender. Elliot Crane was gone. Vanished like a magician who knew when the audience figured out the trick. Melody looked up as Serena entered. Their eyes met. Melody's chin lifted slightly. Defiance still alive, still burning. Serena sat in the witness row, calm, quiet, present. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Everyone sat. The ritual began. The prosecutor opened with facts. Not emotion, not drama. Counts of identity theft, federal benefit fraud, forgery of military records, financial institution deception, embezzlement from veteran trust funds. Each charge read clearly, slowly, heavily. Melody listened with a soft frown, as if hearing the description of someone else's actions. When it was time for the defense, Melody's lawyer stood. My client, he said, is a young woman who lived under the shadow of a highly accomplished sibling. She suffered from severe emotional distress. She believed she could never measure up. She made poor choices. But she is not a hardened criminal. She is a victim of family pressure and untreated psychological instability. Melody dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Not a tear fell, but the gesture worked. A few jurors leaned forward with softened expressions. The lawyer continued, "We will show medical documentation of her fragile mental state, a diagnosed history of anxiety dissociation and identity confusion." The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, the defense references medical documents filed under the name Serena Vance." The judge frowned. "Proceed." A court clerk placed printed documents on the projector screen. Therapy notes, diagnoses, prescriptions, all bearing Serena's name. Melody sat straighter now, playing the role of wounded soul. The defense lawyer gestured to the screen. "This is evidence of long-term psychological trauma. My client believed she was Serena Vance in a psychological sense. This is not criminal intent. This is illness." Murmurs moved through the courtroom. Reporters scribbled. Cameras clicked. The prosecutor didn't object. He waited. Then he said, "We agree these documents are important, which is why we request immediate verification of identity through biometric military records." Melody's eyes flickered. The defense lawyer stiffened. "That's unnecessary." The judge raised a hand. "In a case involving disputed identity, it is very necessary." A federal technician entered the courtroom with a small black case. He set up a fingerprint scanner and retinal reader at a side table. The judge turned to Melody. "Ms. Vance, please step forward for verification." Melody's lawyer whispered urgently to her. Too late, refusal would look like guilt. Melody walked to the table. Slowly, carefully, like each step cost her oxygen, she placed her fingers on the scanner. A beep. "Fingerprint not matched to Captain Serena Vance," the technician said. A ripple moved through the room. Melody swallowed. "Retinal scan," the technician said. She leaned forward, placing her eyes to the reader. Another beep. "Retinal pattern not matched to Captain Serena Vance." Silence hit the courtroom like dropped glass. The judge looked up from the bench. "Then the medical records filed under Captain Serena Vance do not belong to the defendant." The defense lawyer's face tightened. The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, we now request authentication of the real Captain Serena Vance." All eyes turned to Serena. She walked to the table and placed her fingers on the scanner. Beep. Match confirmed. Captain Serena Vance. Retinal scan. Beep. Identity confirmed. No gasps, no screams, just the heavy click of truth locking into place. The judge leaned back slightly. Melody stood frozen beside the table, the world shifting under her expensive heels. The judge spoke calmly. "Ms. Melody Vance, step forward." Melody didn't move at first. Her lawyer touched her arm. She stepped forward. The judge looked directly at her. "Based on biometric confirmation, the court recognizes that you are not Captain Serena Vance. Therefore, all documentation submitted under that identity is fraudulent." Melody's lips parted. Her carefully built expression cracked. The judge continued, "The court will take a brief recess to process the implications of this verification." A gavel struck once. Everyone stood. Reporters rushed out to send updates. Jurors whispered. Attorneys huddled. Guards watched Melody carefully. Serena returned to her seat. She didn't look at Melody. She didn't need to. The truth was now louder than any confrontation could ever be. And the courtroom doors opened and closed with the quiet rhythm of a system doing exactly what it was designed to do. 5 minutes later, the courtroom came back to order. Everyone stood as the judge returned. No one spoke. Even the reporters had stopped typing. Silence sat heavy, solid, undeniable. Melody stood at the defense table. Her hands gripped the edge so tightly, her knuckles had turned white. Her lawyer whispered something, but she didn't seem to hear it. Serena sat still in the witness row, back straight, eyes forward, breathing even. The judge adjusted her glasses and looked down at the case file. After reviewing biometric verification, the judge said the court establishes that the defendant has falsely represented herself as Captain Serena Vance of the United States Army. She paused once. Not for drama, for clarity. The court now requires the defendant's true identity to be read into the official record. A clerk stood with a document. Defendant's legal name, the clerk read, "As recorded on original birth certificate filed with Cook County, Melody Vance." A low murmur passed through the courtroom. Melody's breath caught. Her shoulders stiffened. The clerk continued, "The individual known publicly as Captain Serena Vance is present in court as a verified witness." All eyes shifted to Serena. Melody turned slowly, as if movement itself cost effort. She looked at Serena, not with anger now, not with superiority, with fear. The judge spoke again. Ms. Melody Vance, you have been found guilty on multiple counts of identity theft, federal benefit fraud, falsification of military records, financial institution deception, property forgery, and embezzlement from veteran trust funds. The words landed cleanly, no exaggeration, no softness. Melody's lips parted but no sound came. The judge continued. For these crimes, the court sentences you to 15 years in federal prison, followed by mandatory restitution and permanent record of fraud conviction. Melody swayed slightly. A court officer stepped closer ready. Melody whispered, barely audible, No, I am Serena Vance. But the words had no power left. They fell into the air and died where they landed. Her knees gave out. She collapsed to the floor, catching herself with one hand, hair falling out of its neat tie. The image she had built so carefully broke in a second. Not with fireworks, just gravity. The judge struck the gavel once. Case concluded. No dramatic music, no cheering, just the system finishing its work. Court officers lifted Melody to her feet. She didn't resist this time. There was nowhere left to run inside a lie that had been measured, verified, and erased. As they led her toward the side exit, she turned her head once more toward Serena. Their eyes met. Serena didn't smile, didn't nod, didn't speak. She didn't need to. Truth had already said everything. When Melody disappeared through the door, the courtroom began to empty. Reporters rushed for headlines. Jurors left quietly. Lawyers packed briefcases. Another case would follow, another story, another truth. Life moved forward. Serena remained seated for a moment. Then she stood and walked toward the exit. Outside the courthouse, cameras waited. Microphones stretched forward. Voices called her name. Serena stopped at the top of the steps. A reporter asked Captain Vance, "Do you feel justice was served?" Serena thought for a second. "Yes," she said. No speech, no monologue, just one clear word. She walked down the steps and into the city. Weeks later, the old family house stood silent on a quiet street. The bank had repossessed it. The for sale sign leaned slightly to the left. A real estate agent unlocked the door for a buyer. Serena stepped inside, walking through the rooms that had once been filled with chandeliers and denial. The furniture was gone. The banner had been removed. Only clean walls remained. The agent smiled politely. "It's a good property, needs some repair, but solid structure." Serena nodded. "I'll take it." No negotiation, no spectacle. The house came back to its rightful owner with a signature that no one could forge. Months later, the same house looked different. Not luxurious, not flashy, practical. Simple beds in the rooms, a stocked kitchen, a living room with chairs that didn't try to impress anyone. A small sign near the front door read, "Vance Transitional Housing for Veterans." Inside, a former infantry sergeant sat at the table filling out job applications. Another veteran rested on a couch with a therapy workbook. A third cooked dinner humming off-key. Serena walked through the house, checking smoke detectors, asking if anyone needed anything, answering questions about paperwork and appointments. The same logistic skills that once kept bases running now kept broken lives moving forward. No cameras, no applause, no medals, just work that mattered. Later that evening, Serena sat on the front steps watching streetlights flicker on. A cup of coffee in her hands, quiet around her, real. She had her name back, her records, her identity, but more importantly, she had chosen what to do with it. Not revenge, not destruction, redirection. Inside the house, someone laughed at a bad joke. Someone else answered with an even worse one. Life filling the space again. Honest this time. Serena took a slow breath. Home didn't mean the same thing anymore. It meant purpose. And before we leave this story, I want to ask you something. If someone stole your identity, your reputation, and your future, would you rebuild quietly like Serena did, or would you choose a different kind of justice? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories, where truth always finds its way forward. What hurts more, being betrayed by strangers, or being betrayed by the people who taught you how to speak your first words? Most of us grow up believing family is the one safe place in the world, the default team, the people who will stand beside you when everything else collapses. We're told blood is thicker than water, We're told loyalty is automatic. We're told that no matter what happens out there, home is where we're protected. But sometimes, home is where the first betrayal happens. In Serena's story, the first thing she lost wasn't money, it wasn't property, it wasn't her military title. It was her right to exist as herself inside her own family. Her parents didn't just lie to her, they replaced her. They watched someone else wear her name, live in her room, spend her earnings, receive praise for her sacrifice. And when she returned, instead of relief, they offered fear. Instead of love, they offered negotiation. Instead of apology, they offered excuses. That kind of betrayal cuts differently, because it doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the people who were supposed to be your shelter. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people watching this have lived a softer version of that same story. Not as extreme, not criminal, but familiar. The sibling who is always protected while you're told to be strong. The parents who rely on your success, but never ask if you're okay. The family who celebrates your achievements but resents your boundaries. The relatives who call you selfish the moment you stop sacrificing. Serena's story is dramatic, but the emotional pattern is real. So let's talk about the first lesson this story teaches. Being family does not cancel accountability. Some families run on a silent rule: certain people give and certain people take. The giver is praised for being reliable, responsible, mature. The taker is excused for being fragile, lost, still finding themselves. Over time, this becomes normal. The strong child becomes the safety net. The weak child becomes the priority. And the parents quietly lean on the strong one so heavily that they forget that strength has limits too. In Serena's case, her parents justified everything with one sentence: "You're strong. You'll be fine." A sentence that sounds like a compliment, but is actually a permission slip to exploit. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family, you know this script. You're the one who solves problems, the one who sends money, the one who keeps peace, the one who absorbs chaos. And when you finally say, "I can't do this anymore," suddenly you're the problem. Not the years of imbalance, not the lack of support, not the emotional debt. You. Serena refused that script. And that's why her story matters. Here's the second lesson. You are allowed to set boundaries with family. Many people feel guilty even hearing that sentence, because we're taught that boundaries are for strangers, contracts, business, formal relationships. But family is supposed to be unconditional. Except unconditional love does not mean unconditional access. You can love people and still say, "No, you cannot use my credit. No, you cannot guilt me into silence. No, you cannot rewrite my life for your convenience. No, you cannot decide my worth." Serena didn't scream. She didn't fight physically. She didn't explode emotionally. She simply refused to disappear. And sometimes that's the bravest thing you can do in a toxic family system. Not fight, not beg. Just stand still in your truth and let the system shake around you. Now let's talk about the hardest idea in this part. You can love your family and still walk away. Many people believe walking away means hatred, bitterness, coldness, failure. But Serena didn't walk away because she hated them. She walked away because staying meant erasing herself. There's a difference. Some family relationships can be repaired, some cannot, and wisdom is knowing which is which. If a family member apologizes and changes behavior, there's room to rebuild. If a family member only apologizes when caught, there's no foundation. If a family member protects your identity, there's trust. If a family member steals it, there's danger. Serena didn't cut ties to punish them. She cut ties to survive them. And that's a crucial distinction. Now let's bring this back to real life. Here are a few signs you may be carrying a Serena-style burden in your own family. You feel responsible for everyone's stability, but no one checks yours. You're praised for giving, but shamed for resting. Your boundaries are labeled selfish. Your achievements are used as family resources. Your pain is minimized because others have it worse. If any of that feels familiar, this story isn't just entertainment, it's a mirror. So what can you actually do? Start small. Separate love from obligation. Ask yourself, if this person were not related to me, would I allow this behavior? If the answer is no, then blood isn't the issue. Boundaries are. Document financial agreements. Say no without over-explaining. Stop rescuing people who refuse to grow. Invest energy in relationships that give back. And most importantly, stop shrinking yourself to make space for people who never learned to stand on their own. Serena didn't destroy her family. They destroyed the version of family they expected her to obey. She simply chose herself. And that's the real victory in this story. Not the courtroom, not the sentence, not the revenge. The moment she refused to vanish. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If the people who raised you asked you to erase yourself for their comfort, would you disappear quietly, or would you finally choose your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about strength, truth, and self-worth. If someone stole your wallet, you'd cancel your cards. If someone hacked your email, you'd change your password. But what if someone stole your name, your reputation, and your life story? That's what makes Serena's situation hit so close to home. Because in today's world, identity isn't just a piece of plastic in your pocket. It's your credit score, your medical records, your career history, your digital footprint, your reputation, your future opportunities. Your identity is your most valuable asset. And most people protect it less carefully than their Netflix password. Melody didn't just steal money, she stole access. She walked through systems designed to trust Serena's name. Banks approved loans, hospitals opened medical files, government systems granted benefits, all because a name matched a record. And here's the uncomfortable truth: in the real world, this happens every day. Not always at this dramatic scale, but quietly, gradually, invisibly. Someone opens a credit card in your name, someone files a false insurance claim, someone uses your email to sign contracts you've never seen. By the time you notice, damage has already spread. So the first real-life lesson here is simple. Treat your identity like property, because legally it is. Most people think of property as houses, cars, savings accounts. But your name, your signature, your social security number, your digital credentials, these are assets. They open doors, they unlock trust, they carry legal power. Serena kept her records clean. No debt, no scandals, no irregular activity. That's exactly why Melody chose her identity. It was high value and low risk. Ironically, doing everything right made her the perfect target. And that's lesson number 2. Good credit and good reputation make you attractive to the wrong people. If you're the responsible one in your family or friend group, people notice. Not always with admiration, sometimes with opportunity. Opportunity to borrow your credit card. Opportunity to use your name on a lease. Opportunity to ask for just one small favor that never ends. At first it looks harmless. Can I put this phone bill in your name? I'll pay you back. Can I use your address for this form? Can you co-sign this loan? It's only temporary. Small compromises feel loving, supportive, loyal. But every time you lend your identity, even partially, you teach people that your name is a tool they can use. Serena never agreed to lend hers. That didn't stop her family from taking it anyway. But in real life, many people hand pieces of their identity away willingly and then feel shocked when it's abused. So here's a practical reality check. If someone needs your identity to function, they are not asking for help. They are asking for control. Now let's talk about the modern battlefield, your digital life. Melody didn't need to hack a bank with a hoodie and green code falling down a screen. She used paperwork, passwords, access points, trusted relationships. Today, identity theft is often boring. No explosions, no chase scenes, just forms, logins, and silence. So here are real habits that protect your identity in everyday life. Monitor your credit regularly, not once a year, regularly. Use strong, unique passwords, not your birthday, not your pet's name. Enable two-factor authentication everywhere you can. Shred documents with personal information. Never sign papers you haven't read. Never give someone access just to be nice. These aren't paranoid behaviors, they're adult behaviors. Because when something goes wrong with your identity, fixing it is not quick, not simple, not cheap. Serena rebuilt hers because she had discipline training and access to institutional systems. Most people don't. In the real world, identity theft can take years to untangle, which brings us to the deeper layer of this lesson. Owning your identity isn't just legal, it's personal. Melody didn't only steal Serena's paperwork. She stole her story, her sacrifices, her earned respect, her narrative. And many people experience a softer version of that too. People misrepresent you, take credit for your work, tell your story incorrectly, define you based on old versions of yourself. If you never correct it, that false identity becomes public truth. Serena reclaimed her name not just through courts, but by standing in front of the world as herself again. In real life, you do this by speaking for yourself, instead of letting others speak about you. Building a consistent personal reputation. aligning your actions with your values, correcting misinformation about you early, not later. Your identity is the sum of what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you consistently reinforce. If you let people rewrite you, they will. If you own your story, they can't. And here's the part most people forget. Your identity continues even when you're not in the room. Banks trust it, employers trust it, institutions trust it, people trust it. So treat it with the same care you'd give a home, a business, or a savings account. Because in many ways, it's more valuable than all three combined. Serena lost time, she lost comfort, she lost family, but she never lost the core understanding of who she was. That's why she could rebuild everything else. And that's the real message of this part. You can lose money, you can lose property, you can lose relationships, but if you protect your identity legally and personally, you always have a foundation to stand on. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If someone tried to live your life tomorrow, use your name, your reputation, and your achievements, would your identity be strong enough to stand on its own? When someone betrays you at the deepest level, your first instinct is simple. Make them hurt. That reaction is human, it's emotional, it's ancient. Your brain doesn't start by asking what's fair. It starts by demanding balance. If they took something from you, you want to take something back. That's revenge. And there's no point pretending otherwise, most of us understand it. If we were in Serena's shoes, walking in on someone wearing our name, living in our house, being praised for our sacrifices, part of us would want to burn everything down. Expose them publicly, humiliate them, make sure they never recover. Revenge promises emotional relief. But Serena chose something else. She chose justice. And those two paths look similar at first. Both involve confrontation. Both involve consequences. Both involve standing up for yourself. But their destinations are completely different. Revenge ends when the other person suffers. Justice ends when order is restored. Serena didn't lash out. She didn't attack Melody in the party. She didn't scream in front of the crowd. She didn't leak everything to the media for instant humiliation. She didn't settle for a private payoff. She did something far more powerful. She documented. She verified. She reported. She used the system that Melody tried to exploit. That's what separates emotional reaction from strategic action. When you're hurt, emotions say, act now. Wisdom says, build a case. Revenge asks, how do I hurt them? Justice asks, how do I make this right long term? And here's the uncomfortable truth. Revenge feels good for a moment. Justice protects you for a lifetime. If Serena had chosen revenge, she might have destroyed Melody socially, posted everything online, exposed her at the party, shamed the parents publicly. It would have gone viral for a week. Then what? Her identity would still be compromised. Her financial records still polluted. Her legal name still tangled. Her future still unstable. Revenge makes noise. Justice builds stability. Now let's talk about something most stories never show. Healing doesn't come from winning. It comes from rebuilding. The courtroom sentence wasn't Serena's victory moment. It was just a system correcting itself. The real victory was what she did afterward. She bought back the house. She turned it into housing for veterans. She created purpose out of damage. That's the difference between someone who is stuck in revenge and someone who has healed. Revenge keeps you tied to the person who hurt you. Justice frees you to invest in yourself again. Serena didn't spend her future stalking Melody's downfall. She spent it helping people who needed stability. She built a new chapter that had nothing to do with the betrayal. That's healing. Now let's pull this into real life. Most people won't face identity theft at Serena's level, but many will face betrayal. In relationships, in families, at work, in business, and the choices are always similar. React emotionally, or respond strategically. Here are practical steps when you're dealing with betrayal in real life. First, pause. Don't send the message. Don't post online. Don't confront while flooded with emotion. Second, gather facts. Screenshots, documents, proof, not assumptions. Third, understand your options. Legal, financial, professional, emotional. Fourth, choose actions that protect your future, not just your pride. That's what Serena did. She didn't ignore emotion. She controlled it. She turned it into direction. And there's another quiet lesson here. Justice doesn't always mean reconciliation. Some people think forgiveness means reopening the door. That's not always true. Serena didn't invite her parents back. She didn't rebuild that relationship. She accepted reality and moved forward. Forgiveness is about releasing the weight. Reconciliation is about rebuilding trust. One can happen without the other. You can forgive someone internally and still decide they no longer belong in your life. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And finally, the biggest lesson of all. You can't control who betrays you, but you can control what you build afterward. Serena didn't get to choose her sister's actions. She didn't get to choose her parents' favoritism. She didn't get to choose the theft. But she chose her response. She chose not to become bitter. She chose not to become cruel. She chose not to live as a victim. She became the architect of her next chapter. That's the real ending of the story. Not a prison sentence, not a courtroom, not a ruined family. A woman sitting on the steps of a house she rebuilt, listening to people inside, feels safe again. So here's the final question for you. If life handed you betrayal instead of fairness, would you spend your energy tearing down the people who hurt you or building a life so strong they no longer matter? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about resilience, justice, and the quiet power of choosing yourself.
Final note. This story is a work of fiction created by artificial intelligence to heighten drama and emotion. But the valuable lessons we discuss are entirely real and continue to happen to many people every day. If this style isn't for you, that's perfectly okay. Please feel free to look for other content that better suits your needs.